Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Fatboyz Dynasty podcast. Today, coming at you as always, Bo and Brant. Today, we're going to discuss our big boy meal of the week, and we're going to break down some big injuries that happened this week, unfortunately, and we're going to get into unfortunate time of fantasy season as the bye weeks start. So we're going to discuss some.
Brant, isn't there something that needs to be talked about first?
What you got?
Wasn't there a battle of a couple fat boys in the Fantasy Holics Dynasty League this week?
No need to discuss that.
Okay. There was a colossal clash. People may want to know why there was a massive earthquakes, aftershocks all over. Two fat boys colliding this week. I just thought maybe we needed to. All right, I apologize. Get back to the intro.
We definitely broke the Richter scale with our big clash this weekend, and I will be man enough to admit it. You stomped a mud hole in me as my wide receivers decided to hang a total of, I'm pretty sure it was 12 points between three of them.
I just want the world to know Bailey Zappi beat you.
Bailey Zappi did beat me. Bailey Zappi beat me. And we'll discuss how I feel about Bailey Zappi here in a little bit. Just keep him starting. Yeah, we're going to break down our big boy meal of the week. We're going to talk about these disgusting bye weeks coming because it begins. Nobody likes them in fantasy. And then we're going to talk about some injuries, and we're going to talk about some waiver wire pickups that could really help you during these bye weeks or possibly move on further into the season. And then, as always, we're going to talk about the Thursday night football game, if that's what we're going to call it this Thursday. I'll let you start us off with your appetizer on your big boy meal this week.
Yeah, so my appetizer was the matchup of one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the NFL, and then on the other side of the ball was Josh Allen. So I had Kenny Pickett in his NFL debut and the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills. So this game didn't go at all according to plan for Kenny Pickett. Although it was nice to see he came in and threw the rock 52 times.
Wow.
34 completions, 327 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. On the ground, Najee Harris, another very lackluster day, 11 carries, 20 yards. Jalen Warren, 5 carries, 24 yards. Deontay Johnson still very much the target leader here with Kenny Pickett, 13 targets, 5 receptions, 60 yards. Chase Claypool, the next highest in targets with 9 targets, 5 receptions, 50 yards. And then you had George Pickens rounding out the top 3 with 8 targets, 6 receptions, 83 yards. So not a whole lot to write home about on the Steelers side of the ball there. If you go to the Buffalo side, Josh Allen had a fantastic day. Josh Allen had such a good day that Case Keenum came in and was able to throw passes as well. So Josh Allen completed 20 out of 31 for 424 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, added 5 carries for 42 yards on the ground. Devin Singletary had 6 carries for 42 yards. James Cook had 4 carries, 31 yards, and 1 touchdown, kind of to salt the game away there at the end. And then you had Gabe Davis with just the most – I almost want to call this just like the almost perfect Gabe Davis stat line. He had 6 targets, 3 receptions, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, he had a 66% chance of catching a ball in the end zone, basically, with those numbers. Stephon Diggs had 11 targets, 8 receptions, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. And what is it here? Let me see. Khalil Shakir had 5 targets, 3 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown. So a very good day if you were a Buffalo Bills fan, not so much if you were a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yeah, absolutely. You're throwing the ball 52 times for Mr. Kenny Pickett. You'd think he would have found the end zone a couple times. But yeah, I mean, those are good numbers to see for those wideouts there and their target share. Unfortunately, I grabbed my appetizer as the game that was on our TV on Fox and of the Bears and Vikings. It was not much of a fun game to watch. Kirk Cousins looked like the 12 o'clock early in the day football Kirk Cousins, where he did just fine. 32 of 41 for 296 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And Dalvin Cook is back. He showed out that he came out and had 18 carries for 94 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 receptions for 27 yards. Cook came back and showed why he was projected to be one of the top 5 running backs in fantasy football. Definitely looked very good this week. And then on the other side, Justin Jefferson did exactly what Jefferson does. He had 12 receptions for 154 yards. And so he got back on track as the number 1 target getter, number 1 receiving leader there for Minnesota. And as for the Bears, Justin Fields only threw the ball 21 times. He completed it 15 for 208 yards and a single touchdown. He rushed 8 times for 47 yards. Montgomery returned to action. He saw 12 carries for 20 yards and 4 receptions for 62 yards. Darnell Mooney made an amazing catch, as that showed how great the accuracy is of Justin Fields. Mooney did make an amazing catch to end the first half, and that was about all there was to write about for the wide receivers there in Chicago. Vallis Jones Jr. did get his first touchdown in his young rookie season, but there is nothing that I trust really in that Chicago offense. And Monty is a guy that I'm going to pay attention to as he works his way back from this injury. I just don't know how much I can trust in that Bears offense.
Sure, absolutely. It's definitely a putrid offense right now. When you one that you almost cringe if you're starting anybody in for sure. I'm gonna skip. Excuse me, words are eluding me. My main course right now because it gives me such a bad taste in my mouth that I got to go straight to my dessert and get something a little sweeter in here. So my dessert, I have the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Carolina to play the Panthers. Jimmy G on the 49ers side had 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jeff Wilson led the way on the ground, 17 carries, 120 yards and a touchdown. Tevin Coleman also was able to sneak in there, 8 for 23 with 1 touchdown. And then you had Deebo Samuel, the leading target guy, 9 targets, only 2 receptions, 20 yards and a touchdown. Tevin Coleman had another touchdown through the air, 3 receptions for 44 yards and a touchdown. George Kittle, much more of a George Kittle week this week, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 47 yards. And Brandon Ayuk had 4 targets, 3 receptions, 58 yards. On the Panthers side of the ball, you had Baker Mayfield, which we're going to talk about a little bit more here in just a second, but he came up lame in this game. But prior to, he had 20 completions, 215 yards for an interception. Christian McCaffrey had 14 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. DJ Moore had a carry for 8 yards as well. Christian McCaffrey, very much something you want to see there. 12 targets in the passing game for 7 receptions, 50 yards. DJ Moore, 8 targets, 4 receptions for 59 yards. And Shai Smith had 5 targets, 4 receptions for 69 yards. Definitely worth noting that Matt Rule did get fired this week, no longer the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, as well as Baker Mayfield's projected to miss some time. I know we'll get into that just a little bit later here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to watch the Carolina offense and team move forward without Matt Rule and possibly without Baker for a few weeks. Like you said, we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. My main course, and this was a fun game to watch, was the Chargers versus the Browns. A little back and forth scoring game. We'll just jump straight into the Browns. Jacoby Brissett went 21 of 34 for 230 yards and a touchdown and 1 interception. Nick Chubb showed why Nick Chubb is one of the most underrated running backs, honestly, in the NFL. He slides almost every year in drafts, which is starting to, elude people. He had 17 carries for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt also added a touchdown on the ground with 47 yards. And then let's go over here to the pass catchers. David Njoku, another great game for him. I know we saw him post a dud, I believe it was last week. This week he went 6 receptions, 88 yards. Amari Cooper got back on track, 7 receptions, 76 yards and a touchdown. This is the one that really stuck out to me was Donovan Peoples-Jones. He had 4 4 receptions for 50 yards. He definitely was getting involved in the pass game. I know he had several more targets than just the 4. He saw seven targets total, so definitely getting involved in the passing game was good to see Peoples-Jones. And then let's jump over to the Charger side of the ball. Justin Herbert did Justin Herbert things, minus he did only have 1 touchdown, but he went 22 of 34 for 228 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler returned to his fantasy dominance that we saw last year, and we're starting to see again. 16 carries, 173 yards, and a touchdown. Joshua Kelly did add another score and had 10 carries for 49 yards. And then Sony Michel faded back in. He only saw 1 carry, got 0 yards out of that. Mike Williams showed why he is the dominant alpha wide receiver when Keenan Allen is out, with 10 receptions, 134 yards. And then Austin Eckler added another 4 receptions, 26 yards, and another touchdown. So a great day for both Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. Gerald Everett was a disappointment with only 1 receptions and 2 yards. I know a lot of people were hyping up as one of the biggest, waiver pickups, but he definitely did not live up to that.
Okay. So I said I was skipping my main course, and I really sat here and thought about the fact that I don't want to talk about how Jerome Booger is the worst official in NFL history for too long here. Beat on that.
Horrible.
About how he screwed my Falcons out of a win and how everybody protects Tom Brady. I'm not getting on that soapbox right now, so we'll just go through the stats and we'll move on. Rip it off like a Band-Aid. So Marcus Mariota, another just amazing day from him. 14 completions, 147 yards for 1 touchdown. Marcus Mariota added 7 carries for 61 yards on the ground. Tyler Algier led the way out of the actual running backs with 13 attempts for 45 yards. Caleb Huntley, another guy that was high on the waivers last week, 8 attempts for 34 yards. Leading the way through the air, Drake London had 7 targets, 4 receptions for 35 yards. Almeida Zacchaeus had 4 targets, 2 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown. And Kaderil Hodge had 5 targets, 3 receptions, 33 yards. On the other side of the ball, pretty much a get-right game for the Tampa Bay offensively in the first half, in the very least. They didn't score a whole lot after. But Tom Brady, 35 out of 52 for 351 yards, 1 touchdown. Leonard Fournette, 14 carries, 56 yards, 1 touchdown. Rashad White, the rookie there, was also able to add 5 attempts for 14 yards on the ground. Leonard Fournette led the way through the pass catching, 11 targets, 10 receptions, 83 yards, and another touchdown. Mike Evans, 8 targets, 4 receptions, 81 yards. Chris Godwin caught all 6 of his passes thrown his way, 61 yards there for him. And then Cade Otton kind of had his breakout a little bit. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 43 yards. So maybe the rookie's starting to take that Gronk role over there in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an absolute horrendous call. That's all I'm going to say about it is my TV switched to that game, and I got to see that one, and that was disgusting and unfortunate for your Falcons. So I'm gonna
very much so.
I'm gonna jump over into my dessert, which is my Seahawks playing New Orleans. And if you listen to the Fatboyz Live on Sunday, I gave you 2 sneaky tight end starts this week. And said Taysom Hill and Adam Troutman. I know, both gross names. Troutman did score a touchdown, so he did all right if you had to sneaky start him. Now, as for Taysom Hill, he completely demolished the Seahawks. He went 1 for 1 for 22 yards and a touchdown in passing. He had 9 carries, 112 yards, and 3 touchdowns. For a tight end, he did all that without seeing a single target in this game. So Taysom Hill definitely dominated that game. It was good to see Andy Dalton went 16 for 24, 187 yards, a touchdown and interception by one of our rookie young guys back there in our secondary. I'll talk about that later. And as for rushing, Alvin Kamara, 23 carries, 103 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. Unfortunately, for any Alvin Kamara owners, I know how you feel and what you really want to say to Taysom Hill, but we cannot say that on this show, what most people would like to say to Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara also added 6 receptions and 91 yards. Chris Olave was having himself a pretty good day with 4 receptions, 54 yards, and a touchdown prior to getting banged up and knocked out of that game. So the New Orleans Saints did not beat us. Taysom Hill definitely demolished us. As for the Seahawks side of the ball, I'm going to skip the quarterback for a minute because this is just gross to me. I was not on this bandwagon. But let's get into the rushing attack. Rashad Penny saw 8 carries, 54 yards. He did not find the end zone. Kenneth Walker did. He had 8 carries for 88 yards. He did rip off a 69-yard touchdown. But he looked very, very good. As for the pass catchers there in Seattle, we saw Tyler Lockett with 5 receptions, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. The yearly breakout game of Tyler Lockett. And then we also saw DK Metcalf with 5 receptions, 88 yards, and another touchdown. And as for Mr. Geno Smith, could possibly be one of the biggest MVP. Could be one of the biggest sleeper quarterbacks in fantasy. He went 16 of 25, 268 yards and 3 touchdowns, spreading the ball out very nicely. This could possibly have been, let me go back through these real fast. This is possibly the first game this season that Seattle has not thrown a touchdown to a tight end. So that was good to see him, spread out the love to the wide receivers every once in a while. So as we roll straight in to talking about some injuries, Rashad Penny unfortunately got banged up and will be out for the year. So he'll be missing some time. And I also know that James Conner and Williams there in the Atlanta backfield got a little banged up.
Arizona backfield.
Arizona backfield. And apparently those injuries are looking a little more severe than what was put out at first.
James Connors, they actually think they avoided the worst with his ribs. They think there's still a good chance he plays this weekend.
Okay, so those were big running back injuries to see this week. I know you had 1 or 2 that you wanted to talk about also.
Yeah, the biggest one for me is what happened in Carolina with Baker Mayfield, high ankle sprain. We all know for a mobile quarterback that's going to be sideline him for a few weeks at the very least. Good news is he was able to avoid surgery on his ankle, but at the very least he's going to have to be sidelined for a couple weeks. A lot of people thought maybe that Sam Darnold would get his cracks in, but it seems like it's going to be P.J. Walker. Again, new head coach, so we'll wait, or interim coach. So we'll wait and see what that offense looks like. But, DJ Moore owners and Christian McCaffrey owners are probably doing a little bit of a rejoicing, not at the Baker injury as much as the Matt Rule firing. So that's definitely something to keep your eye on. And then, Brant, I know that not all of this pertains just to Dynasty, but for Dynasty purposes, what are we doing with Rashad Penny at this point? This is a contract year for him. He did have surgery on his fractured fibula, and he is going to miss upwards of 4 months. So that takes us right on through the season. So what are we doing? What are you doing with Rashad Penny in Dynasty? Is he just a stash and hold at this point? Is he? Do I trade him to the Kenneth Walker owner for insurance on Kenneth Walker? What are you doing with Rashad Penny right now?
If you can trade him to the Kenneth Walker owner, I would try to trade him. I don't know how much you're really going to get for him.
Yeah, there can't be a whole lot of value.
Yeah. Honestly, he is a stash on my IR as soon as Seattle officially places him on that, which I assume they're going to. It's a stash on my IR. When he does play, he does have the potential to hang up some good RB1 numbers. So I'm going to stash him on my IR, and I'm going to hold on and hope that he gets another chance somewhere. But this is just showing that he can never be trusted as your number one go-to guy in your backfield. He just can't stay healthy, and that's unfortunate for Rashad Penny. So I'm probably stashing him. I don't see him coming back to Seattle. They used a second-round draft pick on Kenneth Walker, and they still have DJ Dallas under contract for a couple more years as well.
Certainly. One last thing I really want to add about this injury is it seems to be the year of concussions again. I know definitely it puts a little more things into the spotlight when we see what happened to Tua happen on national television and things of that nature. But I foresee the concussions being a big deal again this year, and rightfully so. They should be. You don't want to see anybody out there, suffering permanent injuries, playing football, but definitely something to keep your eye on, monitoring. If one of your guys on your fantasy team leaves a game, whatever the case may be for head injury, just be mindful that there's a good chance you're going to be without them the next week. So definitely something to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's unfortunate with the head injuries and the new protocol that they're starting to put in place. That pretty much if you go out for concussion protocol, you're not coming back in, and you're probably missing some time as well.
Certainly, yeah. Definitely going to have some guys hanging some low points on some weeks, but it's just something we're going to all have to get used to at this point.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's jump into these bye weeks that nobody wants to talk about, nobody really wants to look at, but we definitely have to discuss. One of the big ones this week is the Detroit Lions, one of the top offenses. They are on bye week, so you'll be without St. Brown, who this week he came back from injury. He did only see 32% of the snaps, so if you're a St. Brown owner, don't be too worried about it. I assume him to get back to full form as they come out of that bye week. And another name that you guys may be able to pick up and stash, don't know. He is only owned in 45% of leagues. Is Josh Reynolds, and over the last 4 weeks, he has had 14 points, 18 points, 23 points, and 18 points. So he definitely has been a fantasy relevant wide receiver. Right now, he is the wide receiver 23 and still owned in less than 50% of leagues. But you will be without him this week, so this may be a good chance for you guys to slide in and steal him off waivers if people aren't thinking about him, because he's definitely not going to be up there. Then you'll be missing DeAndre Swift still, which is, unfortunate. He has missed the past couple weeks. TJ Hawkinson will be out also, and Jared Goff, who may have laid a dud this week, has definitely been a guy that's had some fantasy relevancy. So if you own any of those guys, make sure you're looking to those waivers to help pivot, and we'll jump into some waivers to help you out here in just a minute.
Yeah, another big one that has a lot of implications is the Las Vegas Raiders. Without Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow, those guys will all be on a bye week this week, which coincidentally may be a good thing because it may let Devontae Adams' little mishap with the media member at the end of that game blow over a little bit, potentially. So you got the Raiders out this week as well.
Yeah, another team that is out this week is the Tennessee Titans, so you'll be without Derrick Henry, and that might be the only name in that offense that you really got to pivot off of. Obviously, Burks will get another week to get healthy. I do know he went to the IR, but there's not much to write home about in that Tennessee team at all.
Yeah, and the last one is the Texans have a bye week, but only because the Dameon Pierce hype train needs to get more gasoline, some more fuel to get back on track again here. So you're going to be without Brandon Cooks and Dameon Pierce this week because the Houston Texans are also on a bye week. But, Brant, as you mentioned, we've got people covered. You're going to be missing these guys. You can't play them this week. You got to have other guys you can plug in and play. So let's go right into these waivers that we've got here.
Biggest name on waivers, I'm sure you can agree with me. Yes, he is owned in 59% of sleeper leagues, but he's still out there in 40% of them. You need to go look, is Kenneth Walker. He is guaranteed to be the number one in Seattle's offense. He's going to get the full workload. He looked really good. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to say, you and me discuss this, I did not see Walker as being an immediate impact in this offense, but after watching him run this week and breaking off that 69-yard run, and also the way he's patient with the holes, this is a man that could really, really change a lot of fantasy teams, and now he's getting the chance to see the workload. You need to go out and you need to look and see if he's on waivers for you.
Absolutely. If he's available, if the only way he should be available is if it's a very short league, whether it be an 8-man league or a 10-man league with a very short bench, this guy should be absolutely rostered, should be owned, and moving forward should definitely be a guy that is acquired. Another one from the running back room that I want to talk about a little bit. This guy's a little bit more owned than Kenneth Walker, which again is insane to me. But it's Jerick McKinnon, and Jerick McKinnon is rostered in about 64% of sleeper leagues, which is pretty good at this point, considering as he's been leading the backfield in targets and snap share just about every other week. It seems this week he had 53% of the snaps again, 8 carries, 53 yards, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 19 yards. So definitely a guy that the Chiefs are utilizing, and I know That, if you're one of those guys who just looks at final numbers, not how the game rolls out, obviously CEH is the guy there. But CEH has been the beneficiary of some very, very good plays at the right time. So Jerick McKinnon's definitely a guy I think that if you're really desperate at running back, or maybe perhaps you're the CEH owner and you want that insurance, Jerick McKinnon's a guy I think should be rostered.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he should. And another guy in the running back core is he's only owned in 16% of the league is Eno Benjamin. We know James Conner gets banged up quite a bit. We've seen him miss a time in almost every year of his career. He's banged up right now. As you said, he may not miss time. But Eno Benjamin's only owned in 16% of the league. And he's going to slide into that number 2 role if Williams misses any time. He saw 54% of the snaps this week. Obviously, with them banged up, had 16 fantasy points. He had 4 targets, 3 receptions, and he also toted the ball 8 times for 25 yards and a touchdown. So Eno Benjamin's a guy that I would definitely be stashing on some of my benches in deeper leagues in case of injury, or if I need to plug him in possibly this week. He could see some carries, and I may be wrong, but I do believe they play Seattle this week, and we all know how much we love to give up rushing yards to anyone that wants to run the ball on us.
Well, yeah, you got to let the other team score a bunch. Otherwise, Geno doesn't get to throw and solidify his MVP case. So I see what Pete's thinking there.
He's up for his second FedEx Air Player of the Week. Guys, go vote for Mr. Geno Smith, please. I mean, let's give Seattle something to hang our hat on, please.
If he beats either Mahomes or Josh Allen this week, somebody needs to be slapped. But yes, he's having a very, 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 very good season, and I hope it continues, because then you guys won't draft a quarterback this year. Anyway, moving right along to the wide receiver position. The first guy I want to talk about is a guy that's only rostered in 49% of leagues right now, and that's Alec Pierce, the rookie out of Cincinnati that got drafted to the Indianapolis Colts. The last 3 weeks, this guy's snap share and target share have started to go up quite a bit. He went in week 3, had 5 targets for 61 yards on 3 receptions. Week 4, he had 4 receptions on 6 targets, 80 yards. And this week, he had 9 targets, 8 receptions, 81 yards on that dreadful Thursday night game last week against the Denver Broncos. But this is a guy that's definitely starting to gain the trust of Matt Ryan, definitely starting to get in a flow with Matt Ryan. And with him being owned in less than 50% of leagues right now, this is a guy that I think, especially the way we're seeing it go this year with running backs really not meaning a whole lot, unless you happen to have one of like the 5 guys that are consistently doing it. Alec Pierce could help out at that wide receiver position if you were somebody who went running back heavy and your running backs aren't contributing the way you thought they would at this point. Alec Pierce is probably my favorite waiver claim of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And to stick with the wide receivers, I'm going to talk about a guy there, and unfortunately, the 2 guys that I have are actually bye week guys. I just realized that they're both on byes this week. Is Nico Collins for the Houston Texans.
He doesn't help this week.
Yeah, he does not help this week, but this guy...
But he should be cheap.
Yeah, he should be cheap, easy to get. His snap share has gone up every single week. We know Houston's going to play from behind, and he's only rostered in 23% of leagues. This is a guy the last 2 weeks, he's had 13 and 12 fantasy points, seeing 5 and 6 targets. He's a deep ball threat there in Houston, and like I said, he doesn't help very much this week, but this is a guy that you guys can go out and pull up real quick and possibly steal. Rather than wasting your waiver claim, you could possibly steal after the waivers run.
Yeah, I got another wide receiver here that's owned in about 61% of leagues right now, so just over half. And this is a guy that I think when he comes back from injury is going to be a massive, massive upgrade to his offense, and that's Wan'Dale Robinson, the rookie wide receiver for the New York Football Giants. Those of us who watched that game and are still kind of struggling with how the Giants beat the Packers, it was a lot of Saquon Barkley and a lot of just randomness out of the wide receiver pool. You had no Kenny Galladay, which most of us didn't even know he was still playing.
I did.
Darius Slayton, a blast from the past there with some usage. You're missing Sterling Shepard for the year, and Kadarius Toney's been banged up too. But Wan'Dale Robinson's a guy that this team they drafted him, and he was on the field for the first 9 offensive snaps in a row the game of week 1 prior to him getting this injury picked up. So I look for him when he gets back in to being a guy that's going to be utilized early and often. And again, with him not being rostered in over 40% of leagues or just under 40% of leagues, if he's out there, this is another one. He could be the one beat Alec Pierce for me.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I had to do a little pivot here, but I did find my other guy that I'm going to talk about, and it could possibly help you this week. He is rostered in 39% of leagues. Is Rondell Moore out of the Arizona Cardinals. Coming back, he did miss the first 3 weeks with injury. His first week back, he started off real slow, 5 targets, 3 receptions. He only had 3 fantasy points. But this week he played 91% of the snaps, had 8 targets, 7 receptions, and had 15 fantasy points here. This is a guy last year that we saw boom quite a bit. He is a great slot wide receiver, and he'll be the beneficiary of the coverage going towards Marquise Brown and DeAndre Hopkins when he returns. And this guy could see a lot of yak chances, and he's a very boom play that you can get. And he's also in my mind, he was a very safe play because he saw plenty of targets last year in an offense that is very bright when they're clicking on all cylinders, and they did this week. They looked really decent this week, so this is a guy that you can go pull off waivers and probably plug straight into your flex spot.
Yeah, he definitely is another guy that if you can get him and play him this week, it'd probably be great before DeAndre Hopkins gets back off of his suspension and gets back into the flow of things there too. I think that's a guy that could be a very sneaky play even after that, so definitely one to watch. So Brant, to run along with our segment that we've been doing here in the last couple of weeks, talking about these incoming, rookies next year. One I want to talk about this week. It was our tight end position. I'm going with somebody who I thought was kind of interesting when I started looking into this guy a little bit. He's a 4-year starter for the University of Utah from the Utes. This is Brant Kuthi. He's a 6'2", 219-pound senior there. And over his career, he's just been Mr. Trustworthy for the Utes. He's had 148 receptions, 1,882 receptions, averages 12.7 yards per catch, and has added 16 touchdowns as well in his career for the Utes. I think this is a guy that's going to come in. He's probably not going to be an immediate impact in the NFL. He's not going to be I don't even really want to compare him to Kyle Pitts because Kyle Pitts has done nothing this year. But this could be a guy very similar to what you see with Pat Freiermuth, that the first couple of weeks it takes him a little bit, and then he starts becoming Mr. Dependable around the red zone for one of these teams. So definitely a name to keep your eye on if you are in a dynasty that you need a tight end potentially, or if you're in a redraft and you don't if you don't get one of those big tight ends, you wait till later. Maybe this is a guy you look at.
Yeah, absolutely. So the tight end that I got is a guy that I have talked about for the last 2 years. He's a guy that I'm really excited to watch. I've watched him in college. This college has produced a lot of pro tight ends. I don't want to say great pro tight ends. Is Michael Mayer. They're out of Notre Dame. From Independence, Kentucky, 6'4", 265 pounds. He's a junior. His stats this year: 33 receptions, 351 yards, 5 touchdowns. Last season he had 71 receptions, 840 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So he's already on pace to probably do a lot better this year than he did last year. But one thing I want to talk about is how much he's relied on in the offense there over the last few games as Notre Dame has tried to get back on track after starting abysmal this year. In case you guys don't know, I am a Notre Dame fan, and losing to Marshall made me cry even more. But this past week they played number 16 BYU. He had 11 receptions, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They definitely lean on him to help get that game going. He's a guy that has no problem staying in and blocking, so that's going to help him get on the NFL field even quicker. But he's also a guy that he's a great block and release guy. Get those quick ones, run over people. He's a big guy, and he's a guy that I do see making an semi-immediate impact for an NFL team. Now, fantasy-wise, once again, we talk about this all the time. Sometimes you got to sit and wait on your tight ends. This is a guy that I definitely am going to have zero problem sitting and waiting on. A lot of people have him as the number 1 tight end coming out of college this year.
Fair enough. So that brings us into kind of our last thing this week, Brant. And I know I
do we
see
have
the
to
look on your face. Unfortunately, we probably do. we do have a Thursday night game this week, I guess, featuring two. One's I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's the Bears and the Commanders. So I can't even say this and make it sound sexy. Like this is just like laundry's done. Wife comes out wearing some old cotton grannies. I mean it is what it is. It's still football. At the end of the day, we're all still going to watch it. Can we see Justin Fields throw the ball 20 times? I don't know. What are we going to see out of Carson Wentz? I mean, not a game that I'm excited for, but everybody's going to tune in and watch it. It's like a train wreck. You can't look away. But you do have some fantasy relevancy in there. You want to see what David Montgomery does on a short week coming back from injury. Obviously, if you're in a super flex and you have to start Justin Fields, then you're going to definitely be tuning in to see what he does. Hopefully, Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet have games similar to what they did this week. I know a lot of people put a lot of stock into them this year, so definitely hoping for something out of that. And then on the other side of the ball, I'll let you take the Commanders away.
I don't really want to. The Commanders.
Yeah, I could only handle talking about one of the two of them. So
we'll see if the Commanders can right the ship there. They have some great pass catchers. I know Dotson missed last week, but yeah, they've got Dotson and Scary Terry and Curtis Samuel. And then I'm actually going to tune into this game because I'd like to see how Brian Robinson looks. I did not get a chance to watch that game this week very closely, so I'm actually excited to get a chance to see how that offense runs with both of them in the backfield with him and drawing a blank here.
Antonio Gibson.
Thank you. Gibson cannot. Yeah.
It's gonna be really interesting because Ron Rivera. I don't know if you saw any of the tidbits of his interviews. They kind of asked him, why the NFC East was so good and the other teams were so much better than him, and he blatantly said it was quarterback is the reason the other teams are better. So definitely taking a shot at his quarterback. Maybe it was to try to light a fire. So we'll see about that. And then another thing that he said that was really interesting is that with the reemergence of Brian Robinson being healthy and being back, that they could see Antonio Gibson moving back into that return role that they had cleared out for him at camp. So definitely interesting to see if that means that it's all Brian Robinson's backfield with J.D. McKissic getting passing work and Antonio Gibson's faded out, or we'll see. I definitely don't think I'd be starting Antonio Gibson this week on Thursday Night Football if I could avoid it.
I don't know.
If I do have...
I don't know if I'm starting either one of those running backs.
I probably don't want to start Brian Robinson either, but I don't want to go into this week with any expectations of Antonio Gibson doing anything. But if I do have to play anybody in this game, Brent, where am I playing them?
Not in your flex. You make sure you get them out of your flex, and I apologize if you have to play pretty much anybody outside of Montgomery in this game. It is noteworthy that Brian Robinson saw only 3% less snaps than Antonio Gibson this week, 32% for Gibson, 29% for Robinson. But Brian Robinson did outcarry him by 6 carries during that time. And so that is very noteworthy there that already his first game back from his unfortunate accident, Brian Robinson is already stepping back into the lead guy getting the carries.
Absolutely. So, yes, we do have Thursday Night Football, even if it's not appealing. We'll all be tuned in, looking forward to having football. That break from Monday to Thursday is just a long time. Mm-hmm. So we'll all be tuned in. And after you get through that Thursday night game, as you're sitting there trying to tinker with your lineups Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday mornings, make sure you jump in with the Fatboyz, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time again, as always. Join in with us. There's no early football on this weekend, so if you're looking for some free, cheap entertainment, come look at these two fat guys lick their lips talking about football and food. So 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll be diving into those games very deeply this week. Shouldn't have any distractions in the background with early football because we did have a good game on with the Giants and Packers this week, getting distractions. And as always, stay hungry.
And stay fat, my friends.